So, are you interested in an air purifier that costs $1,099? Well, look no further, because it's right here. And are you interested in something else? Well, let me introduce you to the TP07 from Dyson that costs $649. Let me introduce you to the $1,199 Dyson 360 VisNav Robo Vacuum and the $949 Gold V15S Submarine. So collectively, this is like $4,000 worth of Dyson stuff. So let me share with you a secret that Dyson isn't sharing with you, which is all the air purification, all these lofty claims that they're making is happening inside of the air filter. So when Dyson is saying 99.95% of particles up to a 0.1 microsecond is being extracted from your air, it is, but because of the filter, not because of how this looks, not because it's Prussian blue and gold and it has an additional filter that destroys formaldehyde. Those are all cool features. Now the total weight of your BP04 or BP03 is going to be about 26 pounds total, so it's pretty light. I mean, I gotta tell you guys, outside of the base, everything else about it is pretty light. I think they just have more weight on the base because that's where the motor is. Now, placement really matters on your Dyson because it's meant to be in the corner. You can see that the fan here goes varying this way, but it's all projected outward. So you want to place it somewhere about 3 feet from the wall in the corner, as you see me place it here. That's the ideal position. So if you're wondering why the bigger Dyson is going to be quieter than the smaller Dyson, it really just comes down to, imagine the air, it is flowing through wider surfaces and coming out through a wider area up top. So it's less likely to experience friction, and it's just not going to be making much noise relative to something like here, where it's cramming a lot of air through those turbines and into these thin slits. And those are those bladeless turbines. So that's different technology. So of course this design should be quieter than this, not just because the turbine or the fan inside is quieter, but also because it's just wider and has more volume. So what Dyson is basically doing is misdirecting you. They're letting you pay attention to all of the fancy parts of their machine and their air purifier, but the effectiveness is really determined by this, and how powerful that turbine is built inside. We know Dyson's really good at that cyclonic power and just ramping up the RPMs quietly. So that's what they do here. They ramp it up quietly. The only one that I would say kind of rivals the BP04 in terms of the quietness as just an overall air circulator is still going to be a Dreo tower fan, because Dreo has also figured that out, but then they're in tower fans and not in this size air purifiers yet. Now let me give you the 5 reasons why the Dyson Big Quiet air purifier is so expensive. Because reason number 1, Dyson has really mastered the art of packaging and design. So like I've been saying, this is a pretty simple machine, but they have this beautiful colorway. They have this beautiful plastic molding, and it's great. And its colorway is great, but it's still plastic. So it's easy to chip, right? It's easy to scratch. Anything sharp is going to scratch it. And wear is going to be more prominent on it over time because it's not those solid, heavy air purifiers you're getting. This is a plastic air purifier. Another key point is that the filter is great. And I really appreciate what Dyson did here. And I think that's the most important part. We got to give credit where credit is due. But the filters are going to cost you $169.99 every 5 years. And the carbon filter is going to cost you $109.99 every 2 years. And that's assuming the price is never going to change. But if you put this in a smoky room and you're going to run it 24 hours a day, in 6 months it's going to be clogged. You probably need a new filter. So your mileage is going to vary. Just because it says 5 years, it doesn't mean 5 years in real life. Another key point is the small print. So many of the projections and those figures that Dyson puts on their website or their listings and their product descriptions about this air purifier are certainly true, right? They test this in many ideal conditions. But that's my point. They're all ideal. So Dyson says, hey, we test this in the bigger rooms. We test it for different chemicals. We test it for this and that. But do you know what the truth about any air purifier is? Is that the suction power is all going to be going through this cylinder here. So if I place this in the corner of my room, how is it going to be pulling air from the opposite side of a room that might be 40 by 20? Because you're thinking this is huge. It should be able to do 1,000 square feet. And it certainly could. under the right conditions. If you close all the windows, there's not a lot of moving air, you're not opening the windows, and if you leave that room closed for 45 minutes, maybe an hour, yes, this should be able to refresh all the air in that room, as long as no one's in there, no one's breathing, and all the windows are closed. So those are the right conditions I'm talking about. In actual execution, this is gonna be great for a room maybe 500 square feet, 600 square feet, because in realistic terms, that is a 30 by 20 room, right? That is pretty large. So if you go farther than 30 feet away from this, because this is in the corner, that's pretty far away. That's 10 yards. So imagine you're going 40 feet away. How do you expect that air to get pulled all the way to here, even though this is an air circulator? So you got to remember, it has its own limitations as well. A cool feature is that the Dyson now comes with updated filter removal. So Dyson has been really trying to make it that it's just easier to use in terms of maneuverability. So on the previous models, you would just like that, and the filters were all interconnected. You have that same kind of mentality on the BP04. So you just want to pop this out. There is going to be a switch on the back. So you just switch that over. It just comes out like nothing, right? And here is going to be your filter. Your filter is going to be 2 pieces. I'm going to pop that out. Inside of this screen, there's going to be 2 metal buttons. The 2 metal buttons are inside of this screen. You're going to press those buttons, and it will release the actual filter for you. 4 major components of your BP04. It is going to be the base and the attached filter. This is a carbon filter, and also the VOC filter. You have your massive HEPA filter. You have the HEPA filter cover, also the cover for the entire unit. So let's just put this back together. We'll just place back the filter. You just lock this back on. And this is a little bit flimsy, right? It has flex, has some flex to it. It's really easy to scratch these guys. So you want to place this somewhere where it's not going to get damaged, because this is more like furniture than it is just an air purifier. And this will lock into place, and that's it. Number 4 is that Dyson made a lot of small improvements over the TP07s to get to the BP04s and the BP03s. So what are those improvements? Well, Dyson was able to make this 20% quieter at max speed. You're like, what? That's a lot quieter. But then you put it into relative terms. So you're telling me this at max is 64 decibels, and this is 61 decibels. Most people will not be able to tell the difference. Like if you heard it side by side, you might be like, I think it's a little bit quieter, but not really. Other cool things that Dyson did is that they put wheels on the bottom, which is probably my favorite feature of this, is that you can take it around your house and it's light enough to move around. And number 5 is the Dyson fan is really powerful. Dyson's good at making fans. Dyson's good at making motors. Dyson's good at making things spin. Dyson also comes with something called cone aerodynamics, and that means it has 2 high velocity streams of purified air that's going to be really covering the machine's dome, and that just pushes it all together, kind of like how the laser on the Death Star worked, where all that air comes together and then shoots out in the direction you want it to. And that's cool, right? That's cool, but still, is this something you need? And how much does it cost to add that to this? So I have a lot of these great air purifiers in my home, like from Coway, Allen, Blue Air, Levoit, and even compared to all of them, this is powerful, no doubt about it. But did you guys know that I can actually buy all of those air purifiers, actually at least all the air purifiers according to the brand. So I could buy all the Levoits for the same price as this. Like we're talking about their Levoit 600, their 300, their Levoit 350 core, their Vital 100, Vital 200. We're talking all of them together would just be the same price as this. I can buy all of the Honeywells for less than this. Turning on your Dyson Big Quiet is really easy. All you got to do is press the power button, and then you're going to see your AQ menu is going to automatically be on fan speed 10 or whatever fan speed you left it at. So you can drop that down. We're going to drop it down to 1, and you can hear how quiet it is on 1. It is really whisper. So right now you can see the particle AQ meter activating, and it's trying to figure out how good the air quality is. Now side by side, I have the Dyson TP07. We're going to turn this on too. And you can see that the menu is exactly the same. Next up is going to be the remotes. The silver one is for the TP07, the blue one is for your BP04. So on your BP04, they have moved the info button down, and they have the up and down for not only the fan speed, but also the angle. Both these units are running. We'll turn it up. And even on level 10, it just has a really smooth sound to it. You guys hear that? It's crazy because if you put your hands here, there's no air. All the air is here. So this is on the lowest setting, and you can move them up or down. So here's 0. So how do you test it's at 0? So we have a basic piece of paper, and if I place it here, you're like, where's the air? There's no air. I'm like, where's the air, right? You're like, and we're gonna go slowly, but if I get closer, and then there is the air. The air is all coming right here. So at 50 degrees, the air is blowing a lot higher. So if I place this out here, it used to not blow here, but now it does. A lot like the Death Star. The air still, as you go farther and farther away, will disperse and be more directional. But when you're right in front of it, it is really coming out from one spot because all that air is meeting up at one spot. So let's see how your AQ looks after operating your unit for 24 hours and see what type of data you get. So we're just going to zoom in. And there's your 24-hour chart. As you can see, historically, it is just pretty good with some occasional spikes or dips. And I find this is more accurate than other air purifiers with detection. Since I've left it on, our formaldehyde levels have actually dropped. So these were higher and now they've dropped, which is good. Your VOC levels are good, and O2 levels are good. So our CO2 levels do not fluctuate much. If there's more people in the house, they do go up, but overall it's always been in that green level, and you get your temperature. The Dyson TP07 is a little bit different. So there's the menu. So let's go to the menu interface. This is going to be your AQ monitoring. Then you have your 24 AQ, just like on your Dyson Big Quiet. Then you have your 2.5. Let's see if it's as accurate as before. So 11. That's just about the same. 10. 12. Just about the same. VOC. Good. NO2, good. It doesn't have formaldehyde, so we're not seeing that here. We don't have a carbon dioxide meter, so we're not seeing that here, but we do get the temperature as well as the relative humidity. Now, temperature is reading out differently. Now, I'm about 5 feet away from these Dysons at fan speed 1. Let me show you something. Even at fan speed 1, if I turn off the TP07, from this area, it is completely quiet. I would say I'm getting more noise from listening to my refrigerator than I am hearing the Dyson Big Quiet. So if you want to set up your Dyson inside of your app, you have to add it. So you're going to want to add it here, and we're going to add the machine. It's going to look for it, and it should be able to find it automatically. It's going to hold your device next to your machine's display. And then you press the power button, and it's going to pair. Machine is paired. So now when you get started, that actually officially turns on the machine, so you get to see everything inside. It's going to give you your temperature, relative humidity. It's going to give you a readout on the air quality. So you have your basic remote on the front. So you have an auto mode, you can turn it on or off, fan speed, as well as change the angle. If you want to go to the full remote, there is the full remote That's going to be inside of the app, so you can change airflow, tilt, night mode, timer. You can schedule your machines. Machine scheduling is super simple. It's like any of the Dysons or Robo Vacuums. You just set the time and it will turn on. But in your settings, you can also set the airflow, the tilt, and which mode you want it in. You have the community. All of these are just really links that just take you to outside pages. So don't think that those links take you anywhere but their websites. This is going to be our TP07, and in contrast, it's pretty much the same interface and app experience as your BP04. So what is our verdict on the Dyson Big Quiet? Well, it's really simple. For all air purifiers, I have 3 criteria. 1, is it effective? Can it clean the room, or can it clean the air effectively? So the Dyson definitely does, right? Definitely does. However, it's not a great value because it does it, but it's expensive, very expensive. Well, number 2, how much does it cost to operate? The Dyson is not that expensive to operate as long as you're not having to replace those filters regularly. So if you believe that those filters are going to last you 5 years, that type of filter is going to last you 5 years, by all means, the filter costs are really reasonable, because if you spread that cost over 5 years and you know a filter costs $170, the filter that comes in the box is going to last you 5 years, then you don't even have to worry about that $170. The only thing you have to worry about is just the carbon filter every 2 years. And even that is pretty reasonable if you won't have to replace that every 2 years. However, every other air purifier I own, including the ones that I've tested, and we run a ton of air purifiers in our house every day in every room. How come all of those type of air purifiers, all of them I have to replace after 1 year? So there is a little bit of a discrepancy here in terms of how long these filters are going to last. So I'm going to put long-term costs as a question mark, even though I think it seems pretty reasonable just based on how aggressive these filters are. And number 3, how good does it look in your house? That's a good question. So for me, I don't need this. I'm okay using a Coway or a Winix or, another air purifier. Name me another air purifier that looks as good as the Dyson Big Quiet. That to me is the primary reason why people get it. Some people might be getting it because they're like, oh, it's great for VOCs, volatile compounds. This filter is great, it's going to pick everything up, and it is certainly good relative to its peers for VOCs. But most people are not spending $1,100 worried about VOCs. They are spending it because it looks really good, and then when their friends come over, they're saying, oh wow, what is that? And they're like, oh yeah, you just saw that? That's my Dyson giant Big Quiet air purifier. Did you know it can remove formaldehyde? And that's the value proposition here, is that you're paying a premium or a peer premium product. Is it a good value? No, no way. Is Hermes or Louis Vuitton a good value? Is a Mercedes, all things being equal, is a Mercedes S500 a good value? Probably not. But you want it, you got it. That's kind of what you got on the Dyson, except that it still does a good job as an air purifier. It just costs too much. So with that, thanks for watching, everybody. This is our Dyson. And if you got any questions, please leave them in the comment box below. And please hit that like or subscribe button because it really does help support our channel. And I'll catch you next time. Stay with the French Glow, signing off. Bye, bye, bye.